Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, Ashley Live. This is episode 100, actually not 100, 208 of my show. I've definitely done more than 100 episodes. 208, episode 208. Singer-songwriter Sophia Galate will be joining me this evening. She's a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles with her soulful voice and captivating stage presence. Sophia's music resonates on a profound level. Her latest single, Should I Tell You, was released on November 21st, and Sophia is going to join me very shortly. We're going to talk all about her new single that just dropped a few days ago. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I feel like most of you guys are probably eating your Thanksgiving leftovers still. How's it going? We have one more month left in 2023. Isn't that wild? I feel like we blinked and then 2023 is over. So thank you guys for joining me on Vibin with Ashley Live. And Sophia has had such a killer 2023 that I'm so excited to talk about all of her accomplishments with her music and everything else that's going on in the world of Sophia. So guys, we're going to hang on tight and wait for Sophia to hop in the room, and then we're going to get this party started. So talk to me, guys. How did you first find out about Sophia? Have you seen her live? Have you found her on Spotify? Let me know. And Sophia's in the house, so I'm going to invite her on in and get this party started.
Hello.
Hi, Sophia. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just want to say, Sophia, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Oh my God, I'm so grateful that you found me. I really appreciate everyone who finds me. I'm always responding to everyone in my DM requests. So if anyone ever feels like they want to reach out to me, I'll always respond. So I just appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like you've had such an incredible musical journey. You've done so much in your career. You've worked on the business side, and now you're killing it as an artist. And I am so very grateful that you're going to spend some time with me and my audience, and we're going to get to know you a little bit better.
Amazing. Yay.
Yay! So let's start in those formative years during your childhood. Can you elaborate on the role of music in your childhood?
Yeah. So no one in my family is musical.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents played great music growing up. My mom played a lot of really Carole King, like the songwriters, James Taylor, stuff like that. My dad played a lot of Motown, so I feel like that's where I got the soul influence and stuff. But I did musical theater from a really, really young age, probably starting when I was 5. I don't remember why I got into it, but I think just some of my other friends were. So I always loved singing when I was really young. My mom has these old recordings of me, we listened to them not long ago, on CDs of me just singing random songs.
Yeah.
So I think I always loved it.
So these CDs that your mom has lying around, what are you singing?
Here comes Peter CottonTale hopping around, like that type of little nursery rhymes. I think, yeah.
I love it. So with the inspiration of songwriters from such a young age, Stevie Wonder and the Joni Mitchells, talk to me about some of that music. What did you gravitate towards as a young child?
So growing up, I really just heavily remember my parents also played Sade, but yes, my mom loved the Joni Mitchell, she has a huge crush on James Taylor, and Carole King, and then my dad. So my mom worked, and my dad was stay-at-home dad. So my dad drove us to school. So he always was playing K Earth 101, which is the oldies station. So I was always listening to Stevie Wonder, to the Four Tops, all the old just classic Motown hits on fucking repeat. And so I feel and then I don't really know how, but I feel I like loved Etta James when I was really young. I guess maybe that was through my dad somehow. I'm not really sure, but I just remember like in my dad's truck, like always listening to KRS 101.
Yeah. That's got to be so cool. As a child, you're having that bonding experience over music, and you can think when the first time you heard a specific song, or maybe you were like, yeah, Etta James was one of my favorites.
Yeah, well, I feel like when it comes to R&B, like I discovered that myself. Like
Yeah.
which is very significant for me.
Mhm.
I very distinctly remember when I was 8 or 9, John Legend, when Ordinary People came out by John Legend. Now you're gonna know how old I am, but and I'm like, don't ask how old I am. I remember seeing Ordinary People, the music video on TV, and it was just this black and white video of him playing the piano and singing, and I was like, oh my god, I need to like learn how to play the piano, and like I just loved, and like ever since then I was like in love and obsessed with John Legend. So I feel like that kind of brought me into the R&B world coming out of the neo soul era.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up in high school, like I remember this girl that I went to school with, she sang Stormy Weather in the style of Etta James.
Mm-hmm.
And I still sing that version to this day. So there's a lot of that. I loved it. I loved a lot of the like classic, like female pop singer songwriters growing up, like Adele, Sarah Bareilles, like all really, I feel like influenced me early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember when John Legend first came out, and I think
I was in a chokehold.
Yeah, I feel like when
Until 10 years ago.
when he came on the scene, it was like, who is this guy? He's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and because it was like he went to school in Philly, which is where like so many of the great artists come from, and
Yeah.
we're surrounded by the roots and all these things, and he was in the hip hop world and both. So that's kind of where I delved into the real like soul piano player singer type vibe.
Mm-hmm. Because I think your style is R&B, neo soul, jazz. Like there's so many, thinking and hearing all of the influences. I can hear all those influences in music today.
It really is like, I feel like I'm like a neo soul type, like Adele, like sometimes. Like obviously I don't like sing like Adele, but some of the songwriting style, especially like my ballads, I feel like live in her world.
Yeah, I definitely hear little nuances of Adele when I listen to your music because it's so singer-songwriter. It's so vulnerable, emotional.
My like new song totally gives me Adele vibes.
Definitely, definitely. So before stepping into the role as an artist, you worked in the music industry side. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So when I went to college, I always like wanted to be a singer, and then I went to college in Chicago. I got a little like fearful of becoming an artist for just lots of reasons, because it's the hardest thing in the world to do, to be an artist and be that vulnerable, and especially before you're an artist, to like tell people that you want to be a singer. They're like, okay, good luck. Like people just judge it off the bat. So I didn't want to be judged. So I just told people that I was doing it as a hobby, or like I tried to like give myself a cop out. So I was like, I'll just work in the music industry instead of being a singer. So after college, I quit singing and moved back to LA, and I worked at ICM Partners, which is no longer an agency, but a booking agency. I was an assistant to a touring agent. So, they booked shows for big hip hop artists, Migos. Like my whole life was dedicated to the Migos at the time. And so it's like a really, really brutal place to work. A lot of young people start there because it's a great place. It's like boot camp for the music industry because it's long hours, chaotic. You learn a lot of just like organizational business skills and how to like work with so many different types of people in the industry. So I did that. And then when I worked there for like a year and a half, and then when I left, at this point, I was like, felt really sad that I was no longer singing and just like really detached from the music. Yeah, I worked in the industry, but I was like very much business, had nothing to do with music. So we were booking shows. So I was like, hey, maybe I want to work more closer with like the creative side because I hadn't admitted to myself that I wanted to be an artist yet.
Mhm.
So then I like kind of accidentally became a manager. I managed a DJ named Andre Power. He's part of Soulection. And I founded a management company with a few other girls that worked at ICM with me. So we had clients, and all the while I was like, it was like eating me alive that I wasn't a singer. But so I did management. I also worked in like playlist marketing, miscellaneous music stuff. But I feel like most people kind of think of me as like the manager turned singer, or like I worked at an agency booking shows, and now I'm like performing shows very similar to the ones that I used to book. So um, it's so funny because I remember when I was in the period of being a manager, I was so mad at myself that I was just letting time pass and I wasn't pursuing being an artist. But I'm so grateful for all the years that I spent working in the industry, because all the people that help me with my stuff now, I met them through them, like the band I play with. Like I used to be their manager, and I learned a lot. So it's so funny. I was like so mad that I was like spending so much time doing something else, but in turn it like worked out fine.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I know that you were in the music industry side of things and it was eating away at you and you were like, "Oh my gosh, like I need to be doing my passion, which is being an artist and showing people who I am creatively." Like I think that's really important when your
Mhm.
body and your soul tell you, "Hey,
It
like
literally was like my fucking body telling me.
yeah." And I think it's like when your body tells you something like, "Oh, hey, like you might kind of like this, but you would feel better in this direction." Like you need to listen to your intuition.
Yeah. Like I tell people, like I tried to not do this
Yeah.
for years, but I couldn't not do it anymore. And now I'm excited because I'm just relieved that I get to be myself.
Yeah, and it's like cuz you're helping all the other people, right? And it's if you took all the energy and years and time and all that stuff because you know how crazy it is being on the industry side of things. If
Yeah.
you took even like a pinky finger of that energy and you put it into your own stuff and something you're truly passionate about, it just like it
Yeah.
pays off so much more.
And it's really interesting, just like the mindset around it. Like, I feel like when I wasn't being an artist, I had so much resentment towards people that were artists, because
Interesting.
it's kind of like I was so jealous. Like, I feel like I was like hating on people's dreams or
Mm,
hating on other female singers, because in my mind, I'm like, they're not that good. And it's like, well, I'm not even trying. So,
yeah.
like, I'm getting mad at them for doing what they love when I haven't even allowed myself to do it. So, it's like, I feel like when you are withholding yourself from following your passion. And obviously, it's hard to follow your passion because it's very unstable and usually costs a lot of money.
Mhm.
But I feel like before I was allowing myself to do what I wanted to do, I was hating on other people doing what they wanted to do because it was just a reflection of what I wasn't doing. So
Wow.
I feel like now I'm way more supportive
Mhm.
of other people following their dreams, because I'm just like, let's all like win together. And I really had this like realization recently. I was like, damn, I used to be like not supporting other people because I was just jealous. But now that I'm doing what I love, it makes me just in a better place internally to like give love and support to people that are doing what they love, whether I think it's good or not,
Mhm.
because I just know what it's like. And I feel like I know people that maybe downplay what I'm doing because they haven't figured out what they want to do yet. And I'm like, it's all good. It's probably not personal. They just are figuring their own thing out.
Wow. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for dropping that because a lot of people would not admit that they were jealous of other people because they weren't following their passion. So, guys, if you
Well,
just,
I used to be ridiculous. I used to like in my mind be irritated by like famous singers. I'd be like,
yeah,
LMA, she's not that good. And then I'm like, I'm not even doing anything. Who am I
yeah,
even to say anything about her? I don't even know her, you know?
right.
So yeah.
That's actually very, very, very powerful because when people hate on you, it's because there's something wrong within themselves, right? Like you were hating on these females and you were just secretly wanting to do what they're doing. But now that you've stepped into your own artistry, you give love and you're just like, oh my God,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm like,
do it.
great. I'm not even the same type of artist as her. So
Right.
why would I compare myself?
Yeah, and then you think about, right, people that are hating, it has nothing to do with you. It's because they're not living their own truth, whatever that may be. And that is a really solid point. I just want
Yeah.
people who are listening to sit on that, because that is powerful. When someone, spews hatred your way, it's not you. Like, it's literally them, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you
But
for your honesty. I really appreciate that, because I think that,
comparing yourself is like a really not comparing yourself to other artists is like a whole other job and art in itself.
yeah, because I think, yeah, the playing field is so diverse. There's so many incredible people out there, and nobody can be John Legend. Nobody can be the Roots. Like, they are who they are, and there's room for all of us out here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, having that background in management, talk to me about that decision and that transition that you went from music industry to artistry.
It makes me like so happy to acknowledge because it was such like a in my mind. It's like so funny being on the other side of it, but like at the time, it was like such a struggle in my mind. So I really didn't. So when I first started managing Andre, I was like, this was like 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to know, like I've been singing my whole life, but I never wrote music.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wrote one song in high school, and then I wrote like maybe a couple ideas in college, but like never really like wrote full songs in college. So I didn't really start writing music till 2018.
Oh.
And so at the time I was like, okay, I can't not sing anymore, but I also can't like publicize it because I'm a manager. I don't want my clients to be like, oh, my manager is an aspiring artist.
Yeah.
I just started writing music in my room, in this room,
Mm-hmm.
by myself, like in secret. Maybe like my mom knew because she obviously knew. My close friends from forever knew I was a singer, and I just needed an outlet to sing and like write songs just for myself. So there's a few like catalyst moments that helped me realize, because even though I like missed singing,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like, I want to be an artist. I was just like, I want to sing. And like, I performed growing up. So I was like, I really miss this. But I hadn't convinced myself. Being an artist is very different than just singing or like writing songs. So I started writing a couple songs, and then I started to show a few close friends of mine and my mom and like people. Like I really wrote like two songs, and people really resonated with them. And I was like, okay, maybe I want to have a show because I miss performing. So I
Yeah.
had a really small show in like spring of 2019. And at the time, I had never sang on my Instagram. I didn't even post about the show. I just word of mouth invited people. A lot of people that came were people that had known me forever. And they were like, wow, you're singing again. We're so excited. And then the other half of people were like all my colleagues in the industry. And they were like, we don't know what this is, but we'll support you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that even inviting people to the show was such a to me, because I was like, ugh, like the breaking the ice to people that I was a singer was actually way more overwhelming than singing. I was like, I know that once they see me sing, they'll be like, oh, she does this. It was like the telling of the people and convincing them that this is what I do, and to come was like the first battle.
Yeah.
So I had the show, and at the time my intention with the show was just to perform and like have that feeling again. It wasn't like I'm having a show because I'm going to be an artist. It was just pure love. And I think that's what's so special about me is like, I just genuinely love music, like, and I love singing, and I like nerd out when it comes to like instruments and arrangements, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I tried to not be an artist, but I just love it purely. So when I had the show went so well that I was like, wow, I should get one of these songs recorded and see if I could release it.
Yeah.
So it was like, first it was like I wrote the songs, showed a few close friends. They liked it. So then I was like, okay, I should have a show. Then the show went so well. Then I was like, okay, I should record one of these songs. So then it took me like a year and some change to like get the song recorded and shoot a video because the pandemic happened and all these things. So, and every step of the way with my like main client, the artist I was managing, I kept it very separate and kind of downplayed it. Because even after I released my first song, which was in September of 2020, I was still like 1 foot in. And so I kind of worked all of 2021 to like get my project together and like rebrand myself into an artist. And I went through like a really low period of like being depressed before I could figure out how to get my project together. And so I feel like I just kind of did it very carefully and very professionally and very much on my own. So it didn't seem like I was using my artist to be an artist. So I feel like I did it the way that was the most careful and the best. I think a lot of people, once I put out my project, didn't expect me to like fully hit the ground running as an artist. So I had to like transition out of management for like kind of that year following. So, but yeah, it was kind of like once I did it, I felt relieved. All the like breaking the ice to people, telling people was so overwhelming to me that it was like, I'm just relieved.
Yeah. And now you're at a point where you're fully living your artistry. Whereas before, I can only imagine what it was like working on the professional side, right? And like being fearful and then knowing what your peers would think, right?
Yeah. And I really felt like I just wasn't, not that I wasn't myself, but because I loved the people that I worked with and I like cherish and value like that time so much because it was very integral to where I am now. But I remember like as I was a really young woman as a manager. So like I didn't really dress cute when I went out to shows because I was like, I want to be taken professionally. A lot of the men that I managed were older than me. And so I didn't dress cute. I would go to shows and like not dance. And I just like was very like, so some people that knew me in that capacity, for them to see me as this like sensual, like R&B artist, they were like, what? And I'm like, no, this is like, and you ask my friends that I grew up with, they'd be like, no, this is who you've always been.
Yeah.
Obviously it's way more accentuated now, but and what's interesting is like, I still feel like for the most part, people have been like really supportive, but some people that only like knew me in that light as a manager and like in the box that I was in, I think really it's, I don't see them anymore really, but I think they don't take me seriously as an artist because they just think of me as that in the previous. So, but I'm really grateful for my clients, like really like respecting my dream to, you know, I always, you know, said to my clients, I was like, thank you for like, I appreciate you for being, you know, cool about me, like doing what I want to do. Also, I was really young as a manager. So it's kind of like, I don't know that I was going to do that forever. And even the band that plays with me now, I used to manage them. And in their mind, they want somebody that has the work ethic of me to be their manager. But they're like, we want you to fly and like do what you want to do. So it's like funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for talking about that because I think it's really important that, right? Like the people that love you and accept you will gravitate towards you. And for those people that are just like, they can't take you seriously, like they stay in the past, right? But
yeah. And something that's really been so interesting to accept is like when you lean into your authentic self, like whether it's you pursuing your dream as who like being an artist or whether it's like literally you going to therapy and becoming a better person, your relationships start to shift and you start realizing like who's right for you and who supports you on this path of being who you are, especially like as an artist, because a lot of people like what I do may seem very selfish to some people who don't get it because it's like when you're an artist, you're in survival mode, especially an independent artist. It's like I live and breathe and think about this shit all the time. And it's like, I don't go on trips for fun with my friends. Like I can't afford that. Everything I do goes to my artistry, or like I can't go and do all these random things that like my friends do. And so to some people who don't get it, they'd be like, oh, she only wants to do what she wants to do. It's like, and just kind of having to accept that like not everyone's going to get it. So it's like, it's weird. It's like as your artistry grows, you at the same time lose people that you thought maybe were your people. So that's been a weird, I feel like I've experienced that a lot this year. Just like, it's like your artistry grows, but your like core people, your tribe, like that knows you gets a little bit smaller or get a little bit closer because you have to, it's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is right. I completely agree with that. I think the more successful you are and the more you lean into your passion, there's gonna be a lot of people that you're like, oh my gosh, that girl rocked with me for 15 years, but like now we don't talk. Now she has jealousy towards me. Like it's just so weird to actually look at.
Yeah, or like people take things the wrong way. Like I've had weird incidents of that this year, and it's something that I think about a lot, and it makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's also like, I don't know, can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's a weird reality to accept. I mean, I feel like everybody eventually gets to this point, but it's just like when you're living in your creative body and doing what you love, like all those people that should have left you're not even have time for them anymore, and you're going to be around all these beautiful, positive, creative people. And yes, it's such a huge growing experience, but you're investing in yourself and what you do and what speaks to you, and some of those people just need to be left in the past. And it's like, yes, we wish them well, but they're not going to be on this journey with us,
Yeah.
you know. But ta-ta to them. I wish you love and positivity, but on to the next
totally fine.
Yeah. So you've opened for artists like JoJo, Kenyon Dixon, and you performed at festivals like Lollapalooza. What are some of those memorable moments that have approached that have sorry, I just totally butchered that. What have been some of the most memorable moments that have shaped your approach to performing?
Like that affect how I perform?
Yeah, like because you've had all these incredible experiences doing your own headline shows, opening up for, I think Lollapalooza in itself is just like people.
Well, yeah, I performed with another artist at Lollapalooza, just so you know, it wasn't my own set, but I'm gonna perform at Lollapalooza one day, and it's gonna be this greatest moment of my entire life because I've been going to Lollapalooza for 15 years at this point as a fan. So even for me to go perform with the artist that I did last year was so crazy. I feel like, well, JoJo was crazy because that was like the first show I ever did as an artist. Like I basically like dropped my EP, did a little release party show, and then I did JoJo, like before I even did my own show. So it's so funny now. It's like looking back at the JoJo show now, I'm like, okay, the way I arranged the songs like would never be how I do them now. Mm-hmm. But I performed like on a huge stage, and I just like I loved the big stage. I do so many, obviously I'm a small artist, so like I do so many intimate shows, which I'm so good at because I talk a lot at my shows and I give insight, and I really like the band style like caters towards those smaller rooms. But I loved being on the big stage.
Yeah.
I loved that. I would say there's a few. So I did Lollapalooza with Peter CottonTale. He is an artist in Chicago. He's also Chance the Rapper's music director. That was really cool for me because I used to be such a fan of them when I was in college in Chicago. Like I didn't know them. Yeah. And now I got, I work with Peter a lot now, and his music is gospel. So that was also challenging for me. But I'm so appreciative and I've performed with him a lot since then. So really just being in like a choir setting and having to know your parts, but also his music is really fun. I think what I love about Peter is that he's a really good, like, he's kind of like an MC, like when he performs, like he's really engaging with the crowd. But in terms of my headline shows, so last year I did LA, Chicago, New York, London. And Chicago was like a hometown show for me because Chicago is like my second home. Yeah. And I performed with Peter and a bunch of other people in his lane that are amazing musicians and really fun. And it was so cool to like sell out the Chicago show because that's a pretty big deal for such a small artist. And so there's specific things. So in every city, I had a different band. And like when artists tour, like they bring their band with them. Obviously, like I'm a new artist. I can't afford to fucking fly everyone everywhere. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
You can swear.
But having a different band in every city was so cool because everyone played the songs a little bit different in every city. Maybe there was an added solo here or he changed the ending. And it really made me figure out like which versions of the songs I like best. So I would say though my favorite show was New York last year because I had really low expectations for my New York show. But because it was like a city I didn't really think I had a lot of fans in, I didn't know who was going to show up. The band was like canceling on me like every 5 seconds. And so, but it ended up being like it just blew me away. And the audience members were so attentive. I've dealt with a lot of people like talking during shows. The audience was beautiful. It was genuinely like a lot of fans that I, also had connected with on Instagram. So it was really fun to meet them. And I played with New York jazz musicians who are just like the best. So I really, really loved, that was like probably like my favorite arrangements of the songs. So I feel like I'm so grateful that I play with really, really exceptional musicians. And I always say this at my shows. So the band I play with in LA, there are a few guys from this band called Catalyst, which is like an 8-person jazz band. And that's like who I used to manage. They make my music so much better. Like I say this at my shows. I'm like, guys, if I didn't have them, this would be mediocre. So because of that, I have really, really high standards for the types of musicians that I play with when I go to other cities. So London was amazing too, because it was London. And I feel like that was a really crazy goal that I manifested. Like it was crazy that I performed in London like less than a year after I released my first music. But I was just like, I just want to go there and perform, and I did it.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. And I really feel like my music resonates. London's like one of my top listening cities. So I feel like there's so many artists in the UK that I love. And they're really hip to jazz, like the young people are. So I think my music just makes sense there.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I love what you said about your band being so amazing because, right?
I could talk about them for a whole hour on here.
Yeah. Like, I think it's so important, right? Because the people you surround yourself with who you're musically, you're musically inclined with, like, you just want to be around the best of the people, because if you just have the mediocre people, then like, you're just like, eh. But like when they inspire you and the energy is there and like the whole room is just so engaged in what you're doing.
Yeah. And they think I'm so obnoxious because I'm like so obsessed with them, and they're like, relax.
But I think that's important though, right? Because I feel like sometimes people will hire people just to be like, okay, I just need you for 2 hours and then like, bye. But the relationship that you have with them and that the whole vibe is amazing.
Yeah. And I feel like and I think, part of it is too, it's like my music is very easy for them to play and they make it so much better. But like, because I love them so much and I support them so much and I love their band and their music, they'll do my shows with me, and they'll do that for me so I know that I can always like count on them. And also at my shows, I always like give them a moment. So like at my last show in LA, I basically like broke up my set by letting the band do one of their songs. So I like gave a little speech about them, and then I went off stage and let them like do one of their songs. And so many people in the audience were like, wow, that was so cool that you like gave them a moment. And they're so humble that they'll never be like, oh, thank you so much. They just like do what I tell them. But I value that. So that's something that I look for in other artists when I go to shows, is how they acknowledge the band and how they appreciate the band and stuff like that is something that I pay attention to.
I love that you said that, because I think sometimes people look at the lead singer as like the person, and that's not to say that you aren't, but when you have incredible musicians behind and you say, hey, this is Jim and this is so and I've known this person 5 years and we just did this, it kind of like makes us feel like, oh my God, Sophia loves these people. So
and I always introduce them after the first song.
Yeah.
Most the band usually gets introduced at the end of the show,
Yeah.
But I think my shows right now are intimate enough that I like always stop after the first song and I introduce them at the beginning, because I'm like, I can't go this whole show without you knowing who these people are, so I always do that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. So I want to talk about this video I saw of you singing with Stevie Mackey at Taco Tuesday. Now, loved this collaboration with the two of you. How did it come about? Like, how do you know Stevie? Talk to us about that.
Okay, so, well, like we all have been fans of Stevie and Taco Tuesday on Instagram forever.
Yes.
So I know a couple singers that like are kind of his singers. It's like the Stevie Wonder, like all these amazing vocalists.
Yeah.
One of them, his name is Jay Ronell. I
Yeah.
did a show with him
Uh-huh.
last year, and he sings at Stevie's often. So he had invited me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I went, I just went to watch. Also, like, I honestly don't even think I would sing at one again because it's like so intimidating.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of singers there, but only a few singers that are like singers sing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is welcome to sing, obviously. But so when I first went, I just introduced myself to him, and he's really, really close with JoJo. So I was like, remember me from the JoJo show? Like I opened for her. He was like, yeah. And he's really, really nice. He's very in his world. So it's like, yeah, we know each other, but I don't like talk to him. Like I don't even think he like sees my DMs. But and then I went another time and it was like Whitney Houston themed.
Mm-hmm.
So and he was like, do you want to sing? And I was like, yeah. So then I sang. And it was really intimidating, but it was kind of like the whole crowd like harmonizes with you. So it was fun.
Yeah.
And then I've gone like one more time since then. So basically I met him through Jay Ronell.
Yeah.
And Jay Ronell always like tells me when they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then recently I saw that on his Instagram that he doesn't really just like do voice lessons for anyone because he's Gina Mackey.
Definitely.
But he like wrote on his Instagram, like I'm opening up lessons this week. And it was the week before I shot the video for my new song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a live video.
Yeah.
And I had been wanting to have a voice lesson before I shot the video because I knew that it was going to be like a one take video.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I need to make sure that I can sing the song great, one take live, you know? So being that Stevie knew me, he chose me. And so had a voice lesson with him. And it was interesting because it was kind of like more just for my song, but he like loved the record and he's so sweet. So that's the last time I saw him was like end of September, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I love that he just really showcases like, you know, because a lot of the singers that he showcases, I feel like now a lot of them have become artists, but a lot of them are mostly background vocalists or people that you wouldn't normally know. And the background vocalists are the best singers. So he showcases a lot of voices that like, you know, don't like he posted a video of Jay Ronell, the guy that I know him through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Drake follows Stevie. Mm-hmm. And Drake saw the video of Jay Ronell, followed him, and asked him to sing background vocals on the album. So Jay Ronell is on the Drake album because
yeah. It's wild. I love Jay Ronell. He was on my show. I think it was 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's cool because Stevie knows so many people, right? And I think like the purpose of my show personally is to showcase incredible musicians. And I honestly have had some incredible background vocalists on this show, right? Like you wouldn't know them, like, but I actually, when I'm at a show, sometimes I focus more on the background vocalists, the musicians. Mm-hmm. Because yeah, if you're going to see Drake, we all know Drake, like who are those three people singing behind him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
Drake don't have background singers at his shows, but on the album. I don't even think Drake has a band at his shows.
But the thing is, like, you know, like when you're seeing, I don't know, when you're just seeing like a musician.
No, for sure. Like do you know who Gene Noble is?
I do know Gene Noble, yeah.
Literally my favorite singer on earth. I have a song with him. Uh-huh. It's called Chicago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Jay Ronell, what's so funny though, so Gene is singing on my song, Chicago.
Yeah.
And then Jay Ronell did Gene's part for Gene at my show in LA.
That's crazy.
So I'm so grateful that I've sang with these amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like because the artist community is very small, you guys all tend to know each other. And it's like, oh, like they need this person, then this person happens to step in. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about South by Southwest because you played 3 times at the 2023 South by Southwest. So you used to book artists for this festival. How did it feel to be on the stage?
Yeah, there's a few times in my artist career that I've had like moments where I was like, wow, I used to be literally on the other side of this.
Yeah.
And South by Southwest was one of them. So when I worked at ICM, mm-hmm. my boss was the woman who like ran all the bookings for South by Southwest at our company. So everything like, so I knew a lot about South by. I had never gone, but I was always the one like, there's basically like, in order to perform as an artist without paying, your agency gives you these like codes that basically get you to like sign up for free.
Yeah.
And I remember there used to be this like spreadsheet of codes, and you'd have to very carefully send them to the agent to send the artist. And it was like highlighted like crazy. So I remember the South by Southwest codes. And then now my agent sent me the code, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like triggered getting this code. So that was cool. So I used to like just remember sending offers to artists and booking. Like I just knew, I knew what South by South was and how it was run. Like, because a lot of people don't really know if it's like a festival, it's a conference thing, you know? So it was cool to like go as an artist and that, like have a full circle moment like that.
Yeah.
And especially some people, you know, that I used to work with at the agency were there as well. So yeah, it was really fun. I think South by Southwest, I was only there for like 2 days. So I was kind of just like in and out.
Yeah.
So it kind of like depends. I kind of would want to go. I don't know if I'm going to go next year, but I'd want to go for like a full week so I could go to a lot of other things. But I met a lot of artists there that are like good friends of mine now, like James Vickery from London. And then I did a show with this artist, Dende. I have a song with him now. So it's a really fun place to connect with people and like just run around.
Yeah, I think South by Southwest is one of those things where like it's conferences, it's premieres, it's showcases, and there's so much going on. So yeah, working it to actually being booked to play these showcases, it's got to be so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I want to talk to you about being an artist and navigating your mental health. Can you talk to me about some of the challenges that you've experienced?
Yeah, I think I struggle a lot, and I think like people don't know that because like I post beautiful, fun things on my Instagram. But I feel like I've had probably like I've only really been an artist for like a couple years, 3 now, but I've always had like a really like dark period of going through something before something beautiful happens, which is kind of life in general. But I think especially for independent artists who like do everything themselves and like don't have the resources to get in rooms or at these events or in these, you know, places that we see all these other artists being in, it's more detrimental to us. You know, like before my EP came out at the end of 2021, like the first few months of the year, I was in like a really, I would say that I was like depressed for probably like 4 months because I knew I had one song out and I knew that I wanted to be an artist. It's kind of just like, kind of maybe starts with you comparing yourself to other people. And then it just pulls you into this place of like worthlessness. At least I felt like I was just like, I wasn't good at anything. I couldn't write songs. I couldn't do all these things that I had dreamed about in my mind. And so it like really just ripping yourself apart. It's really just like self-deprecating in a way. So I think we go through a lot of that you know, hinders the creative process. And when you can't be creative, then you think you aren't an artist or you can't accomplish anything. And you have to just sit in it. You just have to sit with like being able to not do anything while you're going online and seeing every other artist doing all these amazing things. And I'm sure there's probably people now looking at my Instagram, going through it and thinking that I'm doing all these amazing things. And it's like, I was struggling up until August. Okay. Like, so, and so this year, what happened to me is I had some like personal life transitions that affected me in a way that I wasn't expecting to. Like, so I was very much in a place where I was like, oh, I need to like deal with some personal shit. But at the same time, because I was dealing with that, I had writer's block. And I kept getting mad at myself, like, wow, why can't I write music during this time? And there's like this added pressure that you need to like write music all the time and release it and be consistent and all this stuff. And so on top of the like life trauma that I was dealing with, that is way more important to work through than writing a song.
Right.
On top of that, I couldn't write music. And then I was getting mad at myself for not being writing music. And then I was like, why can't I? And it's like, well, let's just acknowledge that I'm in a really uncomfortable place in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't, and just accepting it's like, okay, I'm going to be in this period of being down for I don't know how long. I don't know how, and that's the scary thing is too. It's like you don't know when you're going to feel better, when you're going to be inspired again. So I think that it's just a roller coaster of like the ups and the downs, the highs and low, which is very common just within life in general.
Definitely.
But I think there's an added pressure on like being an entertainer, being an artist, where it's like our whole world exists on social media, and people like you need to be consistent and all these things. So I think, but a lot of my pressure really just like comes from my own brain.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a few people that I know are like, when like like when people ask me, when like I literally dropped a song last Friday, and the same day people are like, what's next? Can I roll my song out? Or like,
I know.
so, like, and it's like, okay, the world is going to be triggering.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out how to deal with it. So I would say, and it's so funny, like you said earlier, like, wow, you've had an amazing 2023. And I'm like, 2023 was like the hardest year of my life. Like I was literally depressed until like August. I went on a tour in July. I was still like not great during the tour. Like I had a mental breakdown when I got home from tour because it was so weird. Like I feel like the tour got me out of my like shitty place for a few weeks. And then as soon as I got home, I had this whole moment of, because like at the level that I'm at, I don't profit on tours, which I think who even knows if the headliner profited? Everything's so expensive, but it's like you have to do these things to get visibility and stuff. And it was an amazing experience. I had the best time. But then I got into this whole spiral when I got home of like, wow, like being an artist is just this like vicious cycle. Like now I'm in more debt from going on the tour. Like, how do people do this? Like that's what happened. Instead of being like, oh, I had the best time. It was like, I had a little rock bottom moment when I got back from tour. So, but so I think that's just, it's hard because people don't talk about that a lot. Cause it's like, oh, am I just going to post a video in between like my nice photos about how I'm depressed? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crazy, especially being in the public eye, right? You always need to be putting out music and putting up these beautiful photos and videos. And you're right, I did say that to you. I was like, oh my gosh, you had such a killer 2023. And I just totally hurt me when you were like, yeah, but like I was like depressed for most of this year. And it's just so heartbreaking, but it's something that we all need to talk about because we all are gonna go
Yeah. And there's
through
certain things like, luckily for me, like I'm not like in the public eye like that. So it's like no one's checking for me of like when I'm putting out a next song,
Yeah.
Obviously I have fans who are supportive, but um I started doing things. One of my friends like last year, because this happened to me, before I went to my New York show that I was talking about, like I was freaking out about it.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was like, you need to start writing down um like when you're freaking out about shit, write down the things that you've done this year that are that you accomplished. So I did that this year. It was like, okay, well, even though I was depressed, I still released a song in February. I still went to South by Southwest. I like went on a tour. I connected with something that's like connecting with like like dream collaborators is like a thing that I'm always manifesting, which is a really slow process. There's people on my list. Okay, like I met one of these producers that I am obsessed with. He's pretty well known. A couple months ago, and we exchanged numbers. Okay, that might be the only connection for a year. It's like sometimes, so like, okay, well, I'm still going to mark that as an accomplishment that I met him. We may not work together for 5 years, but at least I met him this year, and he has my number and he knows my music. So it's like, I always have to, like, when I'm in periods of feeling like I'm not doing anything, I have a note in my phone where I've like written down things that I did this year that I wanted to accomplish, or things that I didn't even know I was going to accomplish. So things like that are actually helpful, even though they seem really simple.
I love that you said that though, because right, we can get caught up in our mind and be like, oh my gosh, everything sucks. But you're just like, but I did South by Southwest. I was on tour in July and I did this. I put this song out and then I put this other song out and I did a music video. And it's like those are huge, huge, huge accomplishments. And it is important to write Because when you're like having one of those days where you're just like, oh my gosh, everything sucks, you look at that list and you're like, no, but look at all the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into these projects and how I felt and how other people would dream to have an opportunity like this. Like the producer that you met, that you're like, but I met him and like I want
Yeah, like I'm like, okay, I met him. We texted a few times. Even right now, I'm like, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I'm like, I was like, how do I find a way to talk to him again? But I can't just like, you can't just like hit these people up randomly, you know?
But you can. You want to know something? Because it's the holidays.
Yeah, but I don't even know him like that. But I'm really trying to think of like how I can like text him before the end of the year. But I don't want to, you can't force these things.
You cannot. Okay, I totally agree. You can't force it. But it is the holidays. We just did Thanksgiving. All these crazy holidays are coming up in December, the New Year. So you can just be like, hey, happy holidays, you know. Something like sweet, just so like he
happy holidays. Like, would love to connect with you in the new year.
Yeah. Would love to connect with you in the new year. Like, think we can do great things together.
Or like short or tweet. I'm gonna write this down. Before the end of the year. I have a to-do list to do before the end of the year. I'm adding that to it.
It has to happen. And it just like
I'm gonna write it down right now.
Yes, you have to write it down because that's how I feel. Like I like to connect with people a couple times throughout the year, but the holidays is the perfect time. So guys, if you're watching
this, people that I want to work with, like we're friends on Instagram, like
yeah,
I'll just reply to their story every 3 months. Just
you have to reply to stories because then that goes in their DM. So reply to stories and just tell people, hey, what's up? Like you're not. I mean, you don't want anything. You just want them to know, like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm over here.
Yeah, like keep it light.
Keep it light.
On the radar.
Keep it on the radar, like maybe every 3 months or so, 2 to 3, but definitely during the holidays. Because
that's what I'm saying about like the networking thing. Yeah. Like I forget if I told you this before or during the show, but when I was a manager, just working in the industry, like I feel like I'm really, it's so funny. It's like, I oftentimes don't like going out, but I'm really good at the networking thing when it comes to like being an artist because I was in the industry, you know?
Totally. So I want to talk about your new single.
Yay.
Oh, you. So let's talk about this. What's the story behind the song?
Okay, well, first of all, going back to accomplishments, I'm so proud of myself for just like getting another song out before the end of the year because that was something that was really, really like during my depressive period this year. I was like, fuck, I really want to be able to release another song this year, but like, I just don't know if I'm going to have songs, but I want to, like, I only released one song this year. I was just really, really hard on myself about releasing a song. So earlier, I'm going to like share maybe like too many details, but who cares? So this song is called Should I Tell You? It's pretty much like a letter to my ex telling him why I ended the relationship. Because when I ended it with them, sometimes like love is challenging and like you love someone, but at the same time you feel disconnected to them in certain ways. Like maybe they don't understand you fully. You can't express your emotions in a way that you feel that they'll listen to. So when I ended it with them, I didn't really have all the words to describe why, because I hadn't processed it. I just felt that it wasn't working for me anymore. So it was kind of confusing, complicated when it was over, when it ended. So basically I took a lot of time, like a year, to like process this. And once I had come to the conclusions of having all the reasons why, and I had clarity around it, I was like, should I reach out to him and like have a conversation with him to like offer him some clarity? Cause like we're cordial-ish. We don't talk really ever, but we're like on fine terms. And so like earlier this year in April, I was driving. I live like an hour outside of LA and I go into LA all the time. So when I'm driving, I'm either like writing music while I'm driving in my head, or I'm like, sometimes I process my life. And I was driving home and I started recording a voice note because I was like literally debating, should I reach out to him and tell him all these reasons? So I started recording a voice note to practice what I was going to say to him. And then when I got home that night, I just like happened to come sit at the piano and started writing the song. So it was like, I wasn't even trying to write the song. I was just processing my real life.
Wow.
And I just sat at the piano and it like came out. And what's so cool, I'm going to start actually posting a lot of the stuff this week. I basically have a video of me like explaining that story. I recorded myself that night when I wrote the song So I have some footage of me writing the song,
Mhm.
and I have like the voice note of me speaking what I was going to say. So I have a lot of cool behind the scenes stuff like that I'm going to post. I'm now start posting now that the song's out. So yeah, the song kind of came out, and I remember this was when I was in a really, the sad period of this year, and I was like really just fucking sad when I wrote the song. But I remember and I wrote the song pretty much like that week.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff like the bridge and stuff kind of came more recently, but I really genuinely loved the song, and I feel like, so I had written the song, great. And so I had a show this August, and at the show, I performed a lot of music, and I decided to do 3 unreleased songs. And this song I sang at the show, and it was like the moment of the show, because it was like what I love about the song, and which is why I decided to do a live version of it. The song is so powerful in its simplicity. Like I wanted to keep the song stripped back. I didn't want any background vocals, didn't want any percussion, because I felt like the message of the song and the lyrics were so clear, and I wanted that to be the focus, because that's how it was at the show. It was just me and the piano, and everyone was like tuned in. So I was like, if I'm going to release this song, that's how I want it to be released. Also, it was like really the easiest way to kind of do it, because I was like, I recorded the song and the video together, obviously, in October, and the song came out this month. So everything was really quick. So, yeah, I had a vision after my show. I was like, I need to release this song before the end of the year. I have a vision. The vision is clear. I want it to be live, because I want the emotion to be felt, and I want it to be black and white, and I want to sit down, because I don't want any distractions from the vocals. And I love how the video turned out. It's so cool when you have a vision in your mind and it comes to life. That's something really cool about being an artist. So yeah, and for a while, I remember, it's funny, I talked to Stevie Mackey about this when we practiced my song. Yeah. I was like, a lot of people like don't think you should release ballads as a single. And he's like, no. It's like, if a song speaks to people, it doesn't even matter. And it's like Adele's whole career. So I think that was something personal for me to feel confident in releasing a ballad as a single. Because a lot of people, they save the ballads for just being like the last track of their album. And so I'm really proud of myself for doing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, when I heard the song, I was like, it's emotional, it's vulnerable. And I was like, but I love the stripped down version of it, because you don't need all that instrumentation in the background. It's literally just you, raw, unedited, like
exactly,
so much emotion and feeling. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you feel it that much more because of its rawness.
Exactly. And it's so funny, because I imagine, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the single version, and then on my album, I'm going to have like an extended version. And I'm going to add strings, and maybe I'll add like a male singer, but I don't know yet, because I'm like, I really like the version that it is. I think with strings would be pretty.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, would I re-record it, or would I just add to this version? I haven't really decided, but I think it'd be cool to even have like a male singer kind of like response to it. But yeah, I'm going to see how the song lives for a while before I decide like the album version. But
yeah, I mean, it literally just came out a couple of days ago. So how are you feeling now that it's like in the universe? What's the response you're getting from people?
People are really like, people really love it. And I'm so grateful that what I love most is like I love how random people just reach out to me and they like tell me how it connects to them. They're like, oh my God, I'm crying. I'm like, perfect. That's what I wanted. Yeah. So yeah, people really, really like it. And I think, it's so funny. I feel like my fans people don't know this about me, but it's like, maybe my fan base is small, but they're die hard, and they're like real music lovers, like lyric lovers. Like my fan base are like people that love lyrics. So it's like, when I'm writing songs, I kind of think about, I'm like, hey, well, like my core fan base is really going to appreciate the lyrics. Let me make sure they make sense. Sometimes certain songs maybe aren't about the lyrics as much. It's really about like the music or the beat or something. So people have really liked it. It's so funny, because I'm like, yeah, it's out, but I have so much more shit to share for it, like all this behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, like it's been out a week, but I'm like, in a way, I'm like, I feel like it's not out because I have like
Yeah.
all this more vulnerable content to share around it that I'll
Mhm.
be rolling out like through the end of the year.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so funny. It's like I feel like releasing songs used to be like the most overwhelming thing to me. And
Mhm.
one thing I also wanted to get better at was like making my releases like look like an ordeal, but not feel like such an ordeal for me. So for
Mhm.
example, like also like when I released Options earlier this year, that was my first single since my EP. So like the only release I had was like my EP and the single like before that. And that
Mhm.
was the biggest deal ever because it was like my debut thing transitioning into an artist. And when I did Options earlier this year, the Options rollout literally felt like an album rollout.
Yeah.
Like I had this like commercial that I made for it. I did this whole like game show like talk series.
Mhm.
Then I had a separate music video for it. I did a release party with and I performed and it was on Valentine's Day, so I mailed Valentine. Like I just did so much for it.
Yeah.
And it like took a lot out of me. So I remember I was like talking to my drummer earlier this year and I was like, I need to figure out a way to like be able to release stuff without it being this like, you know, the cover art shoot for Options I did like 6 months before the song came out. So like I feel like this was a good test of being like I shot the cover art, recorded the song and the video all in one day and still released it a month and a half later.
Yeah.
And get all the content. So I feel like it was still expensive because I shot a video, but um you know, it's not as like I don't know, I feel very calm.
Yeah.
My long-winded story was me feeling calm instead of like my previous rollouts. I was so excited, but they were so like overwhelming for me that I feel like I felt more anxious. Whereas like this, it was like it felt easier,
Yeah.
which I think is nice.
Yeah,
Because
I think that's cool because, right, sometimes you have these expectations when you release something, but now that you feel that sense of calm, and yes, you do have a lot more content behind the scenes stuff coming, which is amazing. Like, we're so excited to see this behind the scenes and just like get
yeah,
in your mind when it comes to it. But I love that you're at a calm place, especially because you've had such a crazy year. Like, you've had the goods and you've had the bads and the amazing Instagram, but then, you're struggling, as a human as well.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I'm tired.
Well, I hope for the next, couple weeks of the year, you're able to like rest and
Yeah,
self-care.
I actually I'm like just finally getting over having a flu this
Oh,
whole week.
oh my gosh, it
But
sucks.
you know what? But because I was like in Chicago, I did do a release party for the song in
Yeah.
Chicago. And so this whole week, I didn't leave my house. I like took a sauna. I took a bath. I was like, wow, this flu forced me to have like a spa week.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. But it's sad that I had to get the flu to force myself to do that.
Yeah. Well,
But
please take care of yourself. I'm sorry that you had the flu. Actually, thank you so much for doing this interview after getting over the flu because we've been talking for a little bit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel bad, like you're getting over this sickness. But
no,
I just,
I'm just like congested, but it's fine.
yeah. Well, I just want to say, Sophia, this has been so much fun. Can you tell the beautiful people watching right now where they can find you? Plug all of your social channels.
Yes. Everywhere possible. Sophia Galate. That's SOPHIAGALATE. Some people get confused because my album is titled Sophia with an F, SOFIA.
Mhm.
So just know that. Everywhere. Like if you want the real behind the scenes of my actual life and everything else, follow me on TikTok because I post a lot of stuff there. Funny, everything, personal, great. YouTube, everything is Sophia Galate, but I'm everywhere. Like I have YouTube Shorts, I have a YouTube channel, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, my website, sophiagalate.com. I have vinyl. You can buy my vinyl for both my regular album
Yeah.
and my live album. I would say sign up for my newsletter because I won't spam you. I really only email when I have shows and music come out, but like everyone always asks when I'm performing. So I would say just sign up for my newsletter because I'll let you know.
Amazing. So before I let you go, do you have any final words for the people watching right now?
I just really am just grateful for anyone who like supports and watches me because I think, we talked about it. I wasn't always pursuing being an artist and everything that you see on social media and online is really all managed by myself
Mhm.
and curated. And there's a few close women that help me and I love them, but we do this ourselves. So just know that it's like we grinding over here. So yeah.
Girl power, Sophia. This was so much fun. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on my show, talking about your musical journey, your honesty, your artistry. I think you dropped a lot of gems today, and I think it's so important for people to hear about the mental health and hear about the struggles as an artist, but also the background of the artist, the music industry side of you, and also what's to come, but also, you know, having this beautiful Instagram presence, right? And it's just you're struggling with releasing things, but you're also dealing with heartbreak and songwriting. And it's so very interesting to hear your story. And I applaud you so much. You're doing amazing, amazing things.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year. I can't believe I'm saying this because we're not even in December yet, but I wish you all the love, success, and positivity. And guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Sophia. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. I feel like I'm leaving everything out, but sign up for the newsletter because then you'll find out what
Yeah,
else.
the newsletter,
Yup.
TikTok, and Instagram, I would say, are the most valuable.
Those three. Sophia, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
on my show
you.
tonight. Guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Sophia. And if you're new here, I'm Ashley Live. This is Vibe with Ashley Live, and I interview incredible artists like Sophia all the time. So please make sure to give us both a follow. Guys, happy holidays, happy new year. Be kind to each other, be supportive, and spread love and positivity. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so much, Sophia.